It's my pleasure to introduce Hitesh, please. I hope, are there any millennials in this room? Are they? So anyway, so Hitesh and me, please, have known each other for a little over 20 years now. Wow. So we went to business school together, so that was a happy coincidence. And then we went our own ways. I was in American Express, he was in Hindustan Lever. And somewhere along the way, I left for the US in '99, and Hitesh chose to join Naukri, or InfoEdge. So clearly he made the better decision. So he then went on, obviously, to show that he's CEO material someday. Of course, when he joined Naukri, I guess you were 28, 29, 27. Wow. And for the last 5 years, I think now Sanjeev has handed over the mantle to him, and he's, as all of you know, CEO of InfoEdge. And it's an incredible, just as a starting point, and I want to understand your thinking around this question because it's top of my mind. InfoEdge has been a rare example in India of everything, right? Ethics, the way they run their business, everything is held by the holding company. There's no funny business of spinning out half a dozen businesses. You know, you can go and buy one public company stock on the exchange. We should be very proud. It's the $1 billion, $1.5 billion publicly listed tech company in this country. Thank God for one. And despite that, the experiment that they did with, let's say, a Zomato, where they were a majority owner of the business, and today relinquished, it goes back to what Guruji said. How do you feel like, I own this, I built this, and then actually say, no, it's much bigger than what we envisaged it to be. It should be in somebody else's hands. Give it to the founder, give it to Sequoia, give it to other investors, and let's see how big this concept of Zomato can become. I think that in itself I have not witnessed in a single corporate entity in this country. Where does this thinking come from? I mean, I know it's Sanjeev, you, it's all mixed up, but what is the philosophy of Naukri? What is it today compared to, like, you know, and we'll talk about the startup journey, but how has it evolved over 15 years?
I think you're giving us too much credit. Our thought process is very simple. You know, we started Naukri almost about 20 years ago, and we raised, and when Naukri started, there was no concept of venture capital in the country. And we were all sort of running this operation out of a house. We raised money in 2000. Naukri was built on $1.5 million. That was the total money we raised before Naukri became profitable. And you know, when we set out to build Naukri, or when we were building Naukri, we did not imagine that Naukri would become so large, right? The business plan we submitted to ICICI Ventures when we raised money in 2000 said, you know, and they pushed us really hard on the numbers. We said we can hope at max to do 20 crores after 5 years in terms of top line, because we were doing 2-3 lakhs a month of revenue. But they said, listen, we can't even fund you on, if you can't go to give us this kind of plan, we can't fund you on this plan. We can't give you the kind of valuation we want to give you, you know, because valuations are generous. We said, listen, we can't even imagine, you know, doing 20 crores because we're doing 3 lakhs a month. So, as luck would have it, that plan we submitted to ICICI Ventures, and within 2-3 months of us raising money, there was a bust, and no money was available for several years. And as luck would have it, many companies who had submitted very, very aggressive plans to ICICI at that time, and to other VCs. And even for us, the money came in tranches. We did not get 7 crores in one day, it came in 3 tranches. They did not actually even get the money they were promised by many VCs, because they were all behind their plan. And we were lucky that we were always ahead of our plan, right? So ICICI had no reason to hold back even the tranches sort of which were due to us, you know, after a while. So we were lucky in many ways. The company got built. We became profitable. We grew our business rapidly over the next 5 or 6 years of raising money. And you know, over time, we became a much bigger business than we thought we would ever become. Right? So it was not. So we at no point in time were we sort of interested in chasing valuations. We were always interested in building a good business. Our motto was, listen, can you get all the jobs in the country in one place? So that people can search for those jobs, they can get employment. And everything else happened as a result of that. So somewhere, you know, we believe that, you know, ICICI was also very nice to us as an investor. They were They never sort of interfered in our business. They were always available for help. And they were very clear that we are a financial investor, you are the entrepreneurs, you are the guys, you know your business, we are here to give you money, and that's about it. So that experience of us being true to ourselves and ICICI being a very nice VC and very helpful VC, I think stayed with us. And that has always led our thinking. So when we diversified, when we got into other verticals, again we never changed valuation. We said, listen, we have to build a healthy business, we have to build a positive business, we have to grow the business, we have to service our customers well, we have to ensure that we solve a problem. And then when we started investing outside, after a few years, once we became profitable, once we went public, the same philosophy stayed with us, that just like ICICI picked us and put money behind us, and we are here because of ICICI in some sense, why can't we be like this with some of the other teams around us? Because these are all people like us, like I think Karthik said, I think you were saying in the other room, it's often often luck, it's often timing. And we could have got it wrong, and somebody else could get it right, and who knows, right? So we were very clear that just like somebody backed us, somebody was supportive of us, and somebody was nice to us, why can't we be like that with the companies we are investing? And that philosophy has always stayed with us. So when we invest in companies, we are very clear that companies are built by entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs need support because they take a lot of risk. It's a very tough journey for an entrepreneur. And we are there to help. So we don't think that we own those companies. We think we are investors. The entrepreneurs own the company, they run the show, and we are there to support them. Now, of course, initially when we started investing in companies, we originally thought that we would sort of own more and more of these companies with time, and we would be the only investor. But things did not turn out that way because the market in India changed, capital became freely available, companies needed a lot more money than we had on our books. So we did what we thought was best for the company because the idea is to build a company, and we said, okay, get other investors in. That makes more sense for the company. It's okay if our holding goes below 50%, if our holding goes below whatever, if you become a financial investor from a strategic investor. But if that is good for the company, that is what we should do. Because the idea is to solve a problem, the idea is to build a business, the idea is to create something. So it's basically our experience,
sure.
That people apply it.
No, it's a great example of how I think culture sort of, again, comes back into a virtuous cycle. In that context though, given where we are at today, all of what you said seems very unfashionable, right? Both the attitude as investors, building cash flow positive businesses. I won't take it away from the entrepreneurs that they're trying to build consumer-centric or customer-centric businesses, but the environment seems to have become, a very, very different animal today. If you were building today, how do you react to the opportunity set? It's a very theoretical question. It's difficult to put yourself in these shoes, but you have guided Dipinder to, obviously take Zomato to where it is. Maybe he got the profitability lesson.
So he doesn't listen to us.
He doesn't listen. But he's talking about profitability side.
Now he is.
Okay, there you go. So everyone comes line by eye. But what are your views on what's going on? Is this sustainable? How should these entrepreneurs in the room think about, how to respect capital? And I'll also be honest, about half this room I don't think gets respect for the kind of businesses they build because they're unfashionable. Right? Whether it's B2B, B2 SME businesses, which are not necessarily well understood by this hot money, right? And in that sense, since you built how did you guys survive with such little capital and make this work? So I think two parts to the question. How would you have reacted, even in a consumer business, to one of your competitors getting a crazy amount of money? Is it game, set, match? Because you said you got lucky and you got some funding, the others didn't. Is that always the rules of the game in consumer? And in other businesses, I know you don't do too much consumer, but you have a lot of lessons for how to build a cash flow-led business as opposed to wait for the VC to give me more money.
Yeah.
So quickly.
No, again, let me just rewind. When we raised 7 crores, it is not as if we did not have competition. So there was a company called Jobs Ahead, which was our #1 competitor. They had raised 25 crores and they got funding from CRISCAP at that time. Within 2 years or 3 years of them raising money, they sold to Monster, which was the #1 player globally. And Monster was a $6 billion company. They bought Jobs Ahead and became very aggressive in India for a long time. There were many other foreign players who set up shop in India. There was this company called Job Street, which is now owned by Seek.com, which is #1 company in Southeast Asia. They set up shop in India. There was Stepstone, which was a European sort of job site. They set up shop in India. So there was there were a bunch of players out there who were well funded and who were trying to sort of grab the Indian market. But you see, we were very, our thought process is very clear on this, that companies are not built by money. Companies are built by entrepreneurs. Companies are built if you produce, if you have an offering, if you have a product which is unique and relevant at the same time, right? And I think no amount of money can help you sort of get this right. Either you know it, or you get the idea, and you have something which you sort of have figured out before the others figure it out. In the case of Naukri, we figured out very early on that we needed to put a field sales force on the ground, right? Because what we were doing for a long time was selling through direct mail, and we were not able to grow our revenue beyond a point. You know, we were stuck at 3, 4, 5 lakhs a month for a long time. And even though we felt that everybody should be using Naukri, we would send out direct mailers, but nobody would buy. So we experimented with the idea of putting a field sales force on the ground. And of course, we ran into some sort of issues in the beginning, but it worked out over a period of time. And as soon as it started working out, it just scaled up massively. And we had, within no time, 400 salespeople, in 20 cities in the country, selling to companies directly. And of course, we launched some new products as well, right? Which again sort of worked out for us. Today, 70% of our revenue comes from a product which did not exist when we got funded. We did not have that product, right, in our portfolio. And that product was not launched by us to start with. It was launched by a competitor, Jobs Ahead. We just copied them, actually. Right? After a while, when we started seeing, and why did we copy it? Because initially we dismissed the product as something which was not required, but because we were in the market, we were meeting our customers, we were servicing them on a daily basis, and they started saying good things about the product. That feedback flowed to us, and therefore we were able to react and quickly launch a product. And so then we caught up over time, and then Jobs had sold to Monster. So it's not as if Monster did not approach us to buy us at that time, but we were confident that we were onto something good, and we did not sell. So they bought Jobs Ahead. And that again worked to our advantage, because when they bought Jobs Ahead, which was actually a good product, they screwed up, because being an American company, they felt that Monster was a superior offering, and therefore they should push Monster and not Jobs Ahead. All the Jobs Ahead salespeople who had relationship with customers left, and so on and so forth. And they started aggressively investing behind the Monster brand. They put in a lot of money. They were outspending us 3:1, 2:1, 3:1, 4:1 on advertising for a long time. Right? But they just did not have the right product. They were backing the wrong offering. Right? So the point I'm trying to make is that companies are not built just because somebody has a lot of capital. Right? You could have a lot of capital, but you could be chasing the wrong idea. You could get your timing wrong. You may get your hiring wrong. You may launch the wrong products. Many things can go wrong. Right? But if you are onto something good and you are in touch with your customers and you know it's working for them and that feedback is flowing to you, you can scale up and build a big business without a lot of capital.
But one thing has changed, right, Hitesh? That, I recall the days when you left your corporate job, I left my corporate job, salaries weren't much.
Yeah.
Like literally low single digits, right? Lakhs. Today, the environment's become so competitive for talent that, I think most of these companies here struggle through building great teams beyond the original founders. I mean, I think the founders can take a lot of, sacrifices upon themselves. It's very difficult to inspire 20, 30, 50 people to make those same sacrifices. And I think the ability to not be able to then attract the talent again curbs your growth. It's a little bit of a vicious cycle in the other direction, even if you're bootstrapping in this environment. I think more companies in this room have been hurt by the fact that they haven't been able to break out in 3-4 years then, because it's a monotony, right? How do you break out of that? And I know you guys were in a different environment, but what advice for these founders would like to sign off on that?
Even the other businesses we have inside, so one could argue that was a different time, that was a different era. But even the other businesses we have inside the company, like 99 Acres, and, which we sort of, where we're number one player, we're not as dominant as Naukri. But till last year, just to give you an example, we had spent, till the beginning of this year, a total amount of $10 million on that business. Right? And we were almost breaking even till housing and common floor and all the other things happened. Between common floor, housing, and some of the other players in the market, $200 million have been got. Right? Aggressive, VC funded companies. We've spent another 10 million, that's it. Right? And we still exist, we are still number one. Look at what has happened to the others. Point I'm making is, even in this environment, it is possible to build businesses on low amounts of capital. But if, as entrepreneurs, the one thing we have, when we start with a company, we start with 100% of the company. right? And that's something we have, which MNCs can't offer. We have 100% of the stock with us, right? And that stock is very valuable, and that stock can be used to attract a lot of good people into the company. But if that stock is frittered away, that is given away cheaply, right? And ultimately you're left with 5 or 10 or 20% of the company, then how are you going to attract talent? Right? So again, I think it comes back to that if you sort of are frugal in your approach, if you are wise, if you are sort of careful about how you spend or how you build your company, you will always be in a situation where you can even attract good talent, provided you're onto something good, of course. And you have to inspire talent. When you meet people, you have to sort of get them in, you have to sort of sell a story, right? But it's not as if you will not be able to attract talent just because salary outside are crazy. If you have stock, you can get people still. Fine.
So, I don't know if everyone agrees on the stock part. I've had some difficult conversations, but we'll leave time for a couple of audience questions rather than me hogging all his time. Anybody with a question? Anyone wants to ask Hitesh anything? Yeah, Manish.
Have there been instances where you invested as part of InfoEdge into companies, but you did not go ahead and invest in later rounds in the company? And
why so?
Why so?
So basically the question was, did Naukri invest in companies and then decide not to further invest into them for whatever reasons, and what were the kind of reasons why?
And I think second to that would be like, how do you expect, if you do not wish to own 51 or 100% of those companies, then how do you expect your exit from those investments to be?
Yeah, are you like a financial investor who always seeks an exit, or are you just played by you're a long-term investor who can afford?
So again, if I rewind to 5-7 years ago when we started investing in companies, the original thought process was that we would like to own more and more of the companies. But that was a time when there was no tiger in India. You know what I mean? So companies were, so our thinking was that just like we were built on $1.5 million of capital, maybe companies today will take 5 million, 10 million to get somewhere, right? And that should be enough. But of course things have changed, and so our philosophy and so the thinking also had to change. Have we been supportive of all our companies? See, when we invest, the idea is to stay with the company for the long run. One reason companies love us, or two reasons companies love us. One, because we have operating experience, so they benefit from that. And two, because they know that we are long term. We don't have 5-year, 7-year, 3-year money, right? We say we are long term money. We can sort of be with you for the next 20 years if you are building a good business. We don't even exit tomorrow. And the market also values that, because today if you look at our stock price, it is not all because of Naukri. Right? It's a sum of parts story which we said to our investors that there's Naukri, there's 99 acres, and there's Zomato, and company, and people value that. So we don't need an exit also, and we don't have a shortage of cash. We have 1,000 crores on our balance sheet. Naukri generates about 275 crores of EBITDA every year, right? So, but still, yeah, there are times. So there will be times when you make a wrong investment. Like for example, when we invested in an e-commerce company very early on, called 99 Labels. We put in 30 crores into that company. And very quickly we realized after a year and a half or two that this business was going to take a lot of capital. And we did not have the balance sheet to support that business. So of course we went and looked for other investors, but we were not able to find investors. So we did sort of turn off the tap for that company at that point in time. Right? But there are other companies, so we invested 800 crores till date in about 8 or 9 companies, barring 99 Labels which has shut down. And there when 99, we stopped supporting 99 Labels, but we gave the stock back to the entrepreneur, right? We gave everything back to the entrepreneur, right? And we said, okay, you're free to go and raise money from elsewhere on a lower valuation or whatever. There was another product startup which was basically born inside InfoEdge. So there was a guy inside the company who wanted to do a startup. It was one of those cool type of startups. We put in 2 crores, 1 crore, and then 1 crore, and the idea was not working out, so he wanted to exit, so we didn't go, right? So, but otherwise, every other company we have done a second round. In many cases, we've done third rounds as well. See, only if we become very uncomfortable with the entrepreneur, and we start thinking that the entrepreneur is not echoing our values, right? Where he or she wants to make a fast buck, is not really interested in building a business, is not very ethical, is not very clean, would we be unsupportive? Most ideas sort of take some time to, companies take time to sort of discover their true path. We are mostly supportive. And we have learned, that when you invest in a company, and like Blume also is now learning, that you have to keep some money for future rounds. because no company is built, on one round of capital. Right? And sorry, what was your second question?
The exit, like what is your thought process?
So our thought process is that we are here to help build businesses. If we get an exit, once we become a financial investor, of course we are a financial investor, right? When we are the only investor, we are strategic in the sense that we would like to own more and more. But once there are other investors in, then it's not our company, right? It's not just us and the entrepreneur. There are other sort of interests at work. So we would happily do what is best for the company. So if tomorrow the entrepreneur wants to sell the company, we are happy to support him. If the entrepreneur wants to IPO and run the company for the next 10 years, we are happy to support him with that as well. Because like I said, we are getting, because we are publicly listed, if the company is even half valuable, then it is getting reflected in our stock price.
So should we send all the consumer companies to you now? Clearly, you're definitely a preferred investor over everybody else. I think that they're seeing that. So thanks a lot, Hitesh. Thanks a lot for your time. And,